Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Board Game Breakfast. I'm Eric Summerer.
I'm Chris Yi.
And I'm Wendy Yi.
Oh, boy. I get to lead the show today and say hello, everyone. Welcome. Hope you've had a great 2 weeks, Chris and Wendy. It's been another crazy weekend here in the Summerer household. I was at both a parkour competition and a ninja competition this weekend, so I was very much sports dad, and I'm looking forward to being board game guy this morning.
Wow, sports dad the ninja. This is exciting. I really want to know what sport is behind you. Is that a hula hoop?
Oh, yeah. So I got a random package this couple weeks. Somebody sent me a hula hoop and quoted the most recent podcast saying that no one is expecting a hula hoop. Everyone expects roses, but no one expects a hula hoop. And so now I have a hula hoop. I think it's just going to live there. I don't know what to do with it other than that.
How do they wrap it?
It came in multiple pieces. It was like a little flat pack. It was like an IKEA hula hoop.
Oh,
wow,
that's
really?
why it's got different colors.
And you piece it together out of those pieces. And yeah, hula hoop.
Makes sense.
I do like the comic I've seen that's like IKEA job interview. Someone, the boss welcomes in a candidate. He says, take a seat. And the seat is all dissembled in individual pieces. Get it? Because
Yes.
IKEA.
Yeah, but they don't actually put it together for you unless you pay extra.
That's true. He's the extra. Anyway, well, cool. So you have a hula hoop. Folks, if you're not familiar with the At the Table podcast, one, you should be. Eric and Julie are a delight, and Tom is there. Two, they do a segment called Rose Thorn Hula Hoop. The rose is the best part of your day, the thorn is the worst part of your day, and the hula hoop is the unexpected thing. And so you kind of translate that to games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So very cool. Your hula hoop is that you've got a hula hoop.
Yay.
I didn't expect that. No, not at all. So what's on the agenda today?
Well, the agenda today is that we do have a fabulous sponsor that we love and adore.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we're gonna do some good stuff.
Yeah. So some housekeeping items first. Tom, Sir Thomas, is out for the first half of this week at the Gamma Trade Show. And so we have a live thing later today. We'll play it live.
A catch-up
Or
palooza.
Catch-a-palooza that we'll be playing a game live with us here in the office, which is actually just a small handful, a small task force, an elite task force, if you will. But we'll be doing still our regular shows and stuff. What's happening will happen on Tuesday, crowd surfing on Wednesday.
Got reviews coming at you.
Mm-hmm. A top 10 list on Thursday.
In the morning.
Because in the afternoon on Thursday will be the RPG. And then, nothing live on Friday. And then next week's Dice Tower West, which one Eric Summerer shall be at.
Just one, though. You don't get all of them.
Yes, one Eric Summerer. If another one shows up, we legally have to kick this one out.
Do we not get your evil twin?
No Derek Winters for you. I'm very sorry.
Sad. I was all excited.
Well, as Wendy mentioned, we do have a fantastic sponsor, GripMat, so let's hear a quick word from them. Mm-hmm. This show is sponsored by GripMat. These custom playmats come in regular texture or with their custom grip surface, so cards, tiles, chits, and miniatures won't slide around during your games. Make setup a breeze, upgrade your play experience, or just beautify your table with a GripMat. Check out their Etsy store to see their huge selection of custom playmats for many of the best games on the market.
Hi, it's Taryn.
And Stella here from Maple University. Today we are talking about the Duel version of the Isle of Cats, basically titled that, the Isle of Cats Duel.
Yes, this is like many two-player versions of games. It takes the core of what you already know and then changes the way you draft and get stuff. So in this particular game, there will be I think it's a 15-piece grid that contains lesson cards and cat tiles. And drafting of those pieces is by moving around the board and picking up pieces. So it gives you this ability to move and collect the piece you want, or hate draft the piece your opponent wants, or try to move the main cat to a position where your opponent then is unable to get the piece you know they want. So it's got a bit of that interplay for two players.
I haven't actually played, or maybe I have, but I don't remember a lot of games with that type of drafting where you need to move the piece to draft, because usually when drafting, you have a full free choice of whatever it is that you want to get. But this one, you have to make sure that wherever you land, or you think what your opponents will land next, then you'll be able to get the one that you want. I mean, there are ways to mitigate, but it's not that easy.
Once you get past that point, the way the lessons and the cats work on your board is pretty much the same, possibly identical to standard Isle of Cats, so that part is going to feel very familiar.
I like the drafting part. When it comes to putting pieces, Tetris pieces, I always have struggled to rotate things in my mind. So it's like, including the original one, but I do enjoy both.
The fish in this particular game allow you extra flexibility to move your cat around.
That's
So I would say it's not the meanest two-player game. There's usually quite a few ways that you can get around the traps your opponents set.
Every time I count us in back from live, because we have Eric, remote in, I'm always like, all right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, one more second, and now I'm going to push. We're in.
Is that because there's a delay? You want to make sure that Eric really knows when we're starting?
No, I'm just bad at counting us in,
Oh,
apparently.
okay. Chris
Anyway.
can't count from 3 to 1. That's what I got from this.
There's
Yes.
just a couple of extra integers and words in there. It's fine.
Words are not integers.
That's why I said both.
That's why he added both.
Yeah, but you don't count words.
I count words all the time.
Unless you're a word processor, then you count words.
I'm so confused. What are we doing?
Hey, everybody, it's eye catcher time. These are things that we've seen around that are... See, that music is always so loud. Interesting. Okay. I might go through and punch those down
We
then.
need to adjust those, yeah.
Yeah,
Punch
if
that music.
Yeah, if they're a little bit too loud, we can tweak those. Just let us know in the comments of the chat. But the eye catcher is the segment that we do where we talk about some news item or something that we've seen recently that has caught our eye. Aptly named, if I do say so myself. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off here. This is my eye catcher for the last week or so. This is a collection of tiny little games from Brazil. So this is on a website called Meeple Starter, a crowdfunding website, which physically, like the physical games and stuff, can only be shipped out in Brazil. But they are doing print and plays of these 3, and I think that they're very cute. If I had opened this up in Google Chrome, I could have translated the page, but no, you get to deal with it in the original Portuguese. So these are like
Beautiful.
I think these are all 18 card games. This is something I wouldn't mind necessarily print and playing.
Okay, there are 18 cards in each game, or there's 18 games?
There's 18 cards across these
Okay.
3 games.
Wait, total
Wait, they
amongst
split
the
'em
3
up?
games?
So 6 cards each?
I'm so confused.
You are not. These are 18 card games. There's 3 of them. When you multiply 18 times 3, that's 194 cards.
Okay, got it. Yeah, math checks out.
So anyway,
Math and counting. Good.
yeah, exactly.
And extra words.
So I thought these were really cute. I've heard that this, particularly, I've had recommended to me this Malabares game because it is a 2-player trick-taking game about juggling. And so there's an interesting...
Oh, you can juggle swords?
There's an interesting sequence to it, yeah, where like the cards you play into the trick go to the center of the table, and then you play another trick, and then those cards that were in the table go back out to other players' hands. And so there's this like kind of tossing sequence, right?
Like you're
so-
juggling.
Yeah, like you're juggling, right? But it's a competitive 2-player trick-taking game. And then these other ones I've heard good things about. This one, obviously, on the left looks like lay cards over other cards. But I really like this description right down here. Baratos, that's Portuguese for cheap. Acessíveis, this is me guessing based on Spanish.
Accessible?
Accessible. Divertidos,
Fun.
fun.
Okay.
Brasileiros,
Brazilian.
Pequenos,
Little.
Small.
Little.
Yep.
Capibaras. At first I was like, oh,
Captivating.
I thought captivating. And I remembered, oh no,
There's actually capybaras.
these are capybaras.
I feel like we need that something for the show. Like, we need to have some sort of mascot.
Oh,
That's one of
wow.
our keywords.
That's true. Like the Tokyo Game Market mascot, those like big, floofy doofy things. I
Yeah,
really like the way
that's
that
cool.
Japan does that. So anyway, yeah, I thought these were cool, and it's like $350 to do the print and play for these. So yeah, I've picked these ones up. I'm excited for it to end in 27 days so I can get my prize.
So you can print and you can play. So
Yes.
we got a printer and we got one of those where you can like squeeze and refill the ink yourself.
Oh,
And
fun.
we can just print anything now.
Yeah,
The future is open wide.
we'll never
Forever.
run out.
All
All
right.
right, is it my turn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I was frolicking through the magical land of YouTube. You guys might have heard of it. And I came across this very interesting video. So I'm not into wargaming, but this Lego guy he wanted to create, what do you call that? Warhammer. He wanted to create like a Lego Warhammer. And instead he made it World War II themed. But like he created dice, he created the little health trackers, he had measurement things, he created the full terrain. Apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger was involved as well, the young Arnold. But if you want to scroll ahead kind of towards the end just to see like, so yeah, those are his measurement sticks and stuff. But it's just fascinating how much work he put into this. Like full terrain, like keep going all the way to the end. We want to see final product. Yeah.
Talking all
Like
terrain.
there's so much stuff that he put in there, and I think this didn't save him any money. Like it's super cool, and I watched this entire thing. Like it was fascinating. But holy cow, Legos I think are more expensive than Warhammer is. Yeah.
That is a question for the ages, actually.
Yeah, really what was more pricey? But yeah, so you too can make a World War II tabletop game, miniatures game, if you want to, out of Legos.
Well, there you go.
This is your how-to.
All right, he said that he has the
Okay.
rules posted in here and everything too, so that's
Yeah.
cool.
I wonder if those dice actually roll evenly.
I'm sure they don't.
Stick up.
I'm sure with my luck, as soon as I would chuck those dice once, like all
the
of the
pieces would
pips
fall
would-
apart.
You just
Yeah.
lose a
Oh my
pip.
goodness. I did this Lego. We
I
did
rolled
this.
a 5, 4.
We did this off-brand Lego house with my daughter for this Christmas season, and it all worked out great. It was fabulous. But the Christmas tree that you put on the front, the way they had you put it together, every time I put on the second to last piece, it would explode into a million pieces. I could not finish the tree. I finally had to build it backwards and confusingly, and I figured it out and I got it together, but following the instructions did not work for the tree.
You can
Awesome.
call out in the chat that the plural of Lego is Lego.
True.
Lego, my ego. All right, Eric, what do you got for us?
Oh boy. Okay. I have a shout out. A number of Kickstarter games have arrived at my home in the last couple of weeks. I mentioned the Elder Scrolls game, I think last time, but also Innovation Ultimate and Galactic Cruise both showed up at the house in the last couple of weeks. And I want to shout out a trend that I have noticed in all three of these releases that emphasizes the experience of unpacking the game. Because we've all had the experience of opening up a box and going, what is going on in here? And yeah, you have to start flipping through the rule book and trying to figure out these cards with this back are this, and these tokens are this, and you're trying to make piles of everything. And these games have made it a priority to make that transition as seamless as possible. So, like, Elder Scrolls has this lovely unpacking guide and packing guide that tells you how you're supposed to put the darn thing together. Here's where everything goes. Here's all the slots. A lot of games have done this in the last few years. I highly adore when groups do this, when publishers do this. Innovation has a welcome letter. You open it up and you get, welcome to Innovation Ultimate. And it's like when you open the box, there will be 8 packages of cards. You want to open this package first. This is the base game. It's all in this one wrapped container. You can start with that and leave it alone. Don't open this section yet. Here's how you can organize the organizer. It's just got a bunch of slots, and it suggests a couple of ways to use the slots to organize the game. You know, there's just cards in Innovation, but there's a lot. This box includes all of the expansions that have ever been released for the game, and so it's a lot to sift through, and I like having a blueprint for how to do that. The best one, and Chris and Wendy, I know you've experienced this, is this envelope comes in Galactic Cruise. Now, I'm not saying every publisher needs to go this far, but it's a welcome pack that's like an employee welcome letter that's got the little twisty closure system.
Inter-office, yeah.
You get a memo that's like, welcome to the company, but then you get, similar to Elder Scrolls, you get this pamphlet that tells you how the darn thing goes together. And it even says, we recommend that as you unpack it, you cluster the wooden bits together by color, and you cluster the tiles with like sets. And then, it's hard to see on here, but it tells you, put these types of tiles here, and if you got the expansions that came with the Kickstarter, these also go in this slot. And I wanted to hug this thing, because it's like there are another 11 tiles that are going this spot if you have the expansion. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. I love this thing. This is great compared to opening up a box and having to make sense of it all with no guidance whatsoever. So nice. Please continue to do this, publishers. I know it's more expensive, and I know sometimes Kickstarters will go, oh yeah, we told you how to pack the box on the Kickstarter update.
Yeah, update 16 out of 32. You didn't remember that one?
Oh, my goodness.
Tell me when I open the box. I don't read all those updates. Tell me when I open the box how to put it together. Thank you.
I wish I remembered the name of the game, but there was a game that came with a box inside, so you had to like fold open a new box, and it held the like pyramid things in there, but they could only go in one specific way, and it wasn't even on the Kickstarter how to put them in. I had to find a separate website of how someone else figured out how to fit specifically the 4 pyramids in a box that didn't fit right, and it was a weird game.
If memory serves, that one was Yucatan.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
it. That was it. So this is literally my job, right? This is like 80% of what I do at the Dice Tower is open games and organize them. And because the organizers in games are not labeled and you don't have those nice pictures, and it's really hard for people once they've played to put stuff back, we just get rid of all the inserts. And so I actually made the mistake with Galactic Cruise that I got rid of the trays that hold the little they hold like the little tiles, yeah, like little blueprint tiles.
Uh-huh.
I got rid of those because they didn't have lids. And so I'm like, so we played, and I was like, well, they can just sit next to the board. It'll be fine. So sorry, anybody in the future that plays in the Dice Tower library.
They sit in a bag. And we
You know
draw
what? They
random
do.
ones.
They do, and I think it works fine. So it's all gravy. You don't need the boxes.
There are things that wouldn't work in the Dice Tower library, like those boxes that don't have lids, because our library copies are going to get shipped.
And that's the thing. It'll just get funky. And I'll put rubber bands on it, and then someone won't remember to put them on, and then it'll be a mess for the next person.
Yay.
Yeah.
No, Eric, what your experience reminds me of is just on Friday here in the office, Camilla was opening up a game that she was excited about that came in. And the first thing on the very top, right, of this like serene nature-themed game was this extra printout chart. It was just a spreadsheet. That had, like, you can play with this expansion in solo mode, can't do this one. This alternate map does not work with the 2-player variant. And it was just this chart of like yeses and nos. She's like, what the heck is this? And then it said, there was a misprint in the, page 16 of the rule book, put this on it. And she's like, wait a minute, like I open up this serene nature game and the first thing I'm hit with is a spreadsheet of your mistakes.
Yeah, it's better than not having it.
Yeah, but like that's okay to put under the rule book. You know what I mean? That nice cover on the rule book that they intentionally printed so that would be like the first thing that you see should be the first thing you see, right? There's a little bit of an experience to opening up your games. And instead, like, blammo. Hope you like charts.
We done screwed up. Here's how.
That's pretty common, though, that you'll get the fixes on the very top.
Yeah, but there is a way to do it that's less blatant, I think, than that, right? Or I think worse off is when the advertisement book is above the rule book. Once again, here you are opening up your new game you're excited about, and the first thing you're hit with is a commercial.
Well, that's just normal.
That's just
the
life.
Trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's
but
just life.
I think there's a better way you could do it. So anyway, that's cool. No, I agree. I especially like the useful ones, like you're saying, where things go, but even just those little touches of, hey, welcome, here's the game. If you were surprised that this is like the big box edition, let me explain to you what this is. All that stuff is good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Let's move on.
Let's do it.
Let's move on to contributors.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match. Today we're looking at Star Trek Panic. So let me give a brief overview of the game. If you complete 5 missions, you will win the game. If all 6 sections of the hull, which is the inner part of the ship, is destroyed, you will lose the game. As the game goes through, you'll have these missions that come up, and each of them will do something a little bit different. And this tells you how many turns it takes, or how many turns you have in order to beat it. It will tell you what cards you will need to give up to beat it, and the reward if you do so. So what's going to happen on a turn is you're going to have this deck of cards. It'll be enterprise cards, and you'll always draw up to 5. So, for example, this one says, hit one target at short range in front of where you're facing. So you're always facing this way with the arrow at the front of the enterprise, and short would be here, medium would be in the middle, and long would be out here. So right now, I could not do anything with this card. But once per turn, I can maneuver. That means either move clockwise or counterclockwise, which is fine. And if I want to move closer to these guys, I can. One maneuver would just bring everybody closer. It doesn't affect anybody on the sides or the rear of the ship. Now that I've maneuvered, I could use this and hit one target in short range. So this guy has 2 damage on him, so he will just take 1 hit point, and he is still there. Star Trek Panic obviously is in the Panic series. Started out with Castle Panic, with the Dead Panic, so Munchkin Panic, and a Star Trek Panic. I feel like this one does a pretty darn good job. They're going to use steals from the show, which is going to turn some people off. You have the main characters. I think there's 8 of them, each with individual powers. Now, you're battling a lot, right? You're going to say, that's not Star Trek. Star Trek's more about the interactions and the episodes. Well, that's all in the mission deck. The mission deck is really going to bring the series out, and the troubles and different things that you would go through, cons in there, etc. And that's how you play through the mission deck. I think that mission deck is a really good addition to the series in general. Now, sure, this is an already established system, and we're putting the IP paint on it, right? I get that. And I would argue that this is a good Star Trek game. I feel like the Star Trek paint that's on it works. I like without the mission deck, I would agree with you 100%. With the mission deck, I feel like Star Trek comes alive in this one, and I feel like that it's a good representation of the series. I would be very, very easy to recommend this to anybody who likes Star Trek. This would be a really cool game for them to check out. I think a lot of people miss this one.
Happy breakfast, everyone. Today I'm here to talk to you about Heat Pedal to the Metal. This has recently been added to my collection, and I'm so glad that I did get this. It's 100% earned its space on my shelf, as you are absolutely zooming these cars around the racetracks separately, or you can even do multiple races in a row and combine them into like a mini championship thing. How does it work? Well, each turn you're going to be changing gear, potentially going up to, say, 3rd gear. That allows you to play 3 cards that round. So you play 3 numbered cards out, add that value up, and that's how far round the track you're going to go. You can boost, though. You can spend heat from your engine to play an additional card. You can slipstream. You can spin off at corners if you're going too quickly, and all that sort of goodness. I really like the sort of simplicity of each step. However, there are 9 potential steps for a player to do on their turn, and I found this was definitely something when teaching the game that you could see new players, newer gamers go, oh, there's a lot going on here. So really do emphasise that, yeah, there's 9 things, but most of the time you'll do maybe 4 or 5 of them. I love how much content they have crammed into this box. 4 maps. That's definitely more than I would expect. There's a weather module, another Legends module, which is effectively allowing you to play solo or just add other cars in. So you can have 6 cars going around the track when there's only, say, 3 players, that sort of thing. I also think they really do help with the longevity, and I think this one will stay on the shelf for a long time. But anyway, that is Heat, a really fun racing game. I think it really makes you feel like you're in the car, changing gear and zooming around the track. Let me know what you think of Heat in the comment section below, and enjoy the rest of your breakfast.
Hello and welcome to the top 10 list. This came from our discussion. I forget whether we were on camera or off when we came up with this idea last time, but we were chatting about television shows that ended too soon. So that is today's top 10 list, is shows that should have gone on longer. And I'm gonna kick things off with my number 10, which is a fairly recent show called Paper Girls. It was the 80s, man. Oh, I love your slides, Chris. So Paper Girls is based on a Brian K. Vaughan comic series. It involves a number of paper delivery girls. They're working as paper delivery individuals, and in the 80s, and shenanigans happen. They get sucked into a time war that, like, weird people show up. They start time traveling all over the place. There's a lot of lore that goes into the whole thing, but the real core and what made it so cool is that they have to start interacting with their future selves. They meet the adult versions of themselves and have to, one, convince them that this is not a dream, and two, sort of get them to help them get back home. And it has a little bit of Quantum Leap. It's got a nice youth vibe to it. I really, really love the characters, and it set up a fantastic season 2. I think it really did well, setting up something much bigger, and then inexplicably, I think it was on Amazon. Amazon canceled it.
Amazon cancels a lot.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
I think
It was just
streaming
frustrating because it was really
Yeah.
solid, and we finished season 1, and we're like, this is great. When is season 2 happening? And it's not. So... sorry, you should watch it because it's fantastic, but it's not happening.
I probably won't then, unless it continued. That looks like a pink TARDIS in the background. Is that how they time warp?
I'm not even sure what that is that we're looking at. It's been a little while, but it's some sort of time travel compartment there. Like a
it's
time
80s
pod.
and it's electric.
It's electric.
Ooh.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
People are saying people are including things in the live chat, right? We'll pick one for the number one, and man, there's a couple of things on here that I'm like, oh yeah, that should have been on my list.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to scroll. Thanks you for giving this job to me to pick the one that we're going to highlight, because I have to do a lot of scrolling now.
Oh, yeah.
You do, and man, is there a lot of good stuff.
It's going to be great.
But yeah, it's too bad when a show like this ends, because it's not like it's already based on established written story out there or anything, right?
Yeah, they had the stories. They could just no. It's money. I get it. Money.
Sure. All right. Well, my pick here then. What did I do first? I did, if memory serves, Batman Beyond.
Ooh.
This is
I never watched this one.
Oh man, I liked it a lot. Oh, Eric knows the theme. See?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this was a great animated animated version of Batman. The idea being that Bruce Wayne gets super old and he just can't be Batman anymore. Teenager kind of breaks into his house and is a little bit of like a troublesome kid. Bruce does what he always does. He takes someone under his wing and throws him immediately into danger. So
This sounds like Ant-Man. Broke into a house, became a superhero.
there's something to that. I forget if he broke into the house or exactly what he interacted with Bruce. And so
In some way, yeah.
So Terry McGinnis becomes the new Batman, and because it's the future, and in this TV series, they definitely jump very far into the future, because the Batman animated series has a very like 1930s kind of feel to it, and then it immediately jumps to like way too futuristic. We're not even there yet now.
Like, what do you
Right.
mean by futuristic?
Like genetic animal splicing and stuff.
Okay.
and
So it's very techno.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of like it's cyberpunk-ish, right, for Batman. But I really like this concept, and they did a good job. So the series ended. It didn't really have like an actual ending. In the Justice League series, they do an epilogue episode where they kind of wrap up the story-ish, 5 years after the end of the TV show. And it's a nice, satisfying single episode, kind of like a nod, wink back. But this show never got its like proper finale.
Never real ending. Oh, so sad.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My next one, or my first one, I guess, if I remember. You can go flip it over. This is called The Paradise. So decent Rotten Tomato scores, right? I wanted to add those because I feel like all the shows that I picked had decent Rotten Tomato scores.
Oh, Wendy
so.
went above and beyond.
I did. So The Paradise is a period piece during England's first department store. And the girl on the left in the picture is from kind of a small town, and she works for a haberdashery or something like. Anyways, she makes clothes or she makes hats or something. And the main street has like all these individual stores where you get your hats made and you get your clothes made and you get your whatever made. And then across the street is this brand new department store where you can get it all done at once. And so the story's about her like working for the department store, not working for the department store, trying to become her own woman in this world where you can't even work in a department store unless if you're married. Like you can't work if you're married. Anyways, all these things. So I really like how they set up her character. And it was one of those, it was like 2 seasons long. And there's a little bit of romance going on. There was a little bit of like seeing where she was going to go and how she was going to push past some of these like world hurdles that were going on. And then it just ended. And you're like, oh, but she never got where we wanted her to go. Like they just canceled it. So anyways, it was a good show. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Cool.
Only 76% of people liked it, though. So, I mean, how good could it be?
That's critics. 82% of real people liked it, okay?
That's fair. Don't pull up the Batman Beyond stats. I don't know what they are.
Well, I don't have the stats for my next selection, but I'm just going to assume it's like 100 across the board. And my selection is Pushing Daisies. This was a quirky show about a baker who I don't think they ever explain how he has this ability, but he can bring things back to life. So he uses it on food to like bring rotten fruit back to life, but he can also do it with dead people and get them to show up and have discussions with him. If he touches them again, however, they're dead for good. So the conceit of the series is that his crush is killed. I forget how. And he touches her to bring her back. And so now she's alive and talking and with him, but he can never touch her again, or that's it. And so this is the conceit of the series. We're trying to figure out how they can have a life together. And all sorts of wacky characters. Chi McBride is in there. Kristen Chenoweth is in there. Visually stunning show. And then at some point, and this happens with a lot of these shows, they don't know that it's going to end until very close to the end of the season that they film. So they're trekking along in their second season and setting up all sorts of mysteries and lore and stuff. And then like in the last episode or so, they do this super rushed finale that kind of says they live together forever, but we don't know how. And what happened? Was that the end of the show? And it was the end of the show. And we're all just left going, but... Pushing Daisies.
They actually were able to kind of wrap it up?
They tried. It was a really unsatisfying thing.
They at least had 2 weeks notice, unlike the ones that get canceled after the end of the
Right, after they're
season
done filming and they
Yeah.
Well, I think it's almost worse if you just leave people hanging. If you rush an ending, like we only had enough time to film like the last 2 minutes and we did like a quick scroll. Yeah, and they all lived happily ever after, and they do freeze frames or something just to try it. That's almost worse, and that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
That is
so.
Oof, that is
so
rough.
unfulfilling.
Yeah. This is a number 6 pick here. The next one for me is the first situation you described, where a show they had no idea that they're going to get axed, and so they set up for a great, cool mystery, and then it just kind of. They're like, all right, and we're done. This one was called Terra Nova. This was a fun one. I don't have delusions that this was necessarily like a great show per se. But
Did I watch this one with you?
Yeah, we watched this one together.
I'm only vaguely remembering this.
So main character guy in the front, and behind him is the general from Avatar, like James Cameron's Avatar.
Yeah.
I think we've had to look it up. Like that's the same actor, right? Because he's literally the same character. He's like, military good.
Rough guy, fight to the end.
The world is ruined in the future, so people found a way to time travel back to the age of the dinosaurs, and like, we'll live here. There will be no negative consequences from just inhabiting dinosaur times. So that's the idea. Like people go back in time, they live in the past, but there are these interesting questions about like what is the role of militant militant oversight versus just kind of people living freely. It's I don't know, right? It was interesting enough, and there were dinosaurs, and I liked what was going on, and then it just kind of ended. So, I got one season out of it. They set up for a really big reveal for what was going to come in season 2, stuff that they were going to learn, and then that's all.
The dinosaurs probably ate them all.
Yeah, that's how it ended.
They should have done that. They should have had what Twitching Daisies did, right? And just been like, oh, we have 2 minutes to film the end of this series. And the T-Rex came and ate everyone, and they never solved the mystery. Thanks for watching.
Till the next person goes back in time and screws it up again. That's great. Okay, what do I have next? Dark Matter. Oh, this one was so good. So in Dark Matter, these characters, there's like 6 people, and they wake up out of stasis on this spaceship that is like half functioning, whatever. And none of them remember who they are. So they just name each other based on who woke up first. So you've got 1 through 6 are their names. And throughout the show, they progressively are figuring out who they are. But they have those moments where it's like, wow, I guess I know how to fight. I guess I know how to fly a ship. I guess I know, you know what I mean? Like they literally don't remember anything. And so a lot of stuff is just muscle memory and trying to figure out who they are. And then some of them aren't who they first thought they were. And it's just great. So I like it. And it's one of those that it's a sci-fi that questioned the future and made you think about like, ooh, what if androids did become more human-like and they could have feelings and emotions? Then are they, you know what I mean? Like it begs those questions. And I love that stuff in sci-fi. And then it just ended. Like it was one of those that they were trying to get, I think Sci-Fi Channel was running it, and then Netflix had agreed to pick it up like literally the week after they sold off everything for the set. Yeah, so Netflix was just late. Like it just didn't happen barely. Yep. And I know these shows are really expensive. Like I love sci-fi, but it is so expensive to produce. So I get why they don't last, but oh man, I wish they did.
Yeah.
I never picked this one up, I think, because I think it only made it the 1 season, right? So
there's 2.
There were 2. Sometimes it's good idea to wait. It's this catch-22 though, because I've been burned so many times. I often will wait until I know there's at least a season 2 to pick up something. But if everyone does that, ratings aren't good. No one watches it, and so it gets canceled before there is a season 2. And so at some point you have to open your heart to accept one of these things again.
That's a good point, right? And that's the thing is, putting this list together for me was a little bit trickier than I expected because I hold off a lot on TV shows. Like, well, let's see if this one lasts. Like, for example, there's a Netflix series 1899, which looked incredibly intriguing, and then when it came out, it pretty much came out to news that it wasn't being picked up for season 2. And I was like, all right, fantastic. Well, thanks. I'll just never watch it.
Giving it a chance.
Pretend it doesn't exist. Yeah. This is why I watch Korean dramas, because they are 16 to 20 episodes and they are one complete storyline and they are done. Except a few of the Netflix ones now Netflix has been like, we're going to make them seasons. So we're going to have a second season. I'm like, no. This was the beauty behind them, is they were one storyline. And those characters never existed anywhere else again in the world.
So I'm going to go with sci-fi for my final selection, the number 4 on the list. And these have both shown up on the chat so far. Stargate Universe is going to be my selection. This one still hurts. And I could have put Stargate Atlantis. I accept that. But Atlantis actually got 5 seasons or so. And it did have somewhat of an ending. I realized there was supposed to be more. I get it. There is a lot of pain when you talk to a Stargate fan about how this all went down. So at Stargate Atlantis, great show. For some reason, Sci-Fi Channel, instead of running both Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe, their new darker, grittier show, simultaneously, they canceled Atlantis and started Universe, which angered all the fans of Atlantis. They were predisposed to not like it and came up with every criticism they could. The show barely limped into a second season and then died. But it was setting up some fantastic stuff. The show literally ends with them going into hibernation to set off into the unknown, and maybe they'll make it, maybe they won't. As far as we know, the show just the ship is still flying off in space with everybody in suspended animation. The worst part is that this killed the whole franchise. Stargate is awesome, and the television version of Stargate is awesome. SG-1 was so much fun. And Stargate fans have been dragged along year after year. Maybe there's a reboot. Maybe we're going to get something new. MGM or Amazon now owns Stargate. Will they make a series? Who knows? But we keep getting little bits of information dangled in front of us. Maybe they'll do a reboot. Maybe we get more movies. Maybe we get a little miniseries. Nothing. Stargate Universe, way too soon. After 15 years.
Beautiful diatribe. Thank you. I felt that one.
That was a eulogy and a half.
Yeah.
My good man.
Wow.
I don't quite have the same emotion. Or were you going to say?
I was going to say, I only ever watched the first Stargate movie. I never got into the TV shows.
The show's fantastic. SG-1 is really, really good.
Okay. Yeah, and it's one I never got into either.
I wonder how dated it feels now, though. Like going back and watching it for the first time.
Sure.
Yeah, I wonder.
Well, I don't have as sincere a eulogy as Eric has, as my number one pick did not kill an entire franchise, unfortunately, but it is indicative of questions of the future of the. I picked 2 DC animated shows. This one is Young Justice, right?
Okay.
It had 2 phenomenal seasons when it first came out, and then it didn't get picked up for a third, and it took years, and it took a lot of like fan petitioning, and then they got picked up for 2 more seasons, and they had set up at the end of season 4. They reached a satisfying conclusion to each arc, but there was always that hint that there's something more dark and more sinister right around the corner, and then it never got picked up for a 5th season. So twice fans of the show have been done dirty. So, but I think this is probably the best outside of the like Bruce Timm verse, right? The Batman animated series, Justice League, those ones. This is phenomenal. This is great. It is the quality of a lot of the DC animated movies, but as a series, and I think it does it really well. And in many ways, it might be even a better show in actuality than some of the 90s and early 2000s stuff without the nostalgia factor.
I really like that. So we named our daughter Zatanna, and I really like that this has such a good Zatanna character in it. Like, she's cute. She's a teenager. She's, you know what I mean? But she's still Zatanna.
Nice.
And it makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's a good show. It's a good show. All right. My last one is a fabulous Joss Whedon show. And this is Dollhouse. So in Dollhouse, these characters, basically they're people that have kind of sold themselves for a certain amount of time, a certain amount of years, and said, sure, use my body. I don't want to remember anything. And then really, really rich people come in and they say, I want a person that can fulfill this very specific requirement
like
with
a
these
bodyguard.
very specific skills. Like a bodyguard, yeah.
Yeah. Or an assassin.
Or an assassin, yeah, or something, or a really good salesman. I don't know, whatever you need. And so they basically like download and upload new personalities and abilities into these people's bodies, and they just don't remember anything. But then you have this one girl, this one doll, that she starts remembering her past skills and her past life and her past, experiences. I love where this goes. Like, it goes into those questions of what if rich people could buy immortality? What if, is, like those morality behind it, and what happens if you can just literally like body snatch, and there's so much cool stuff that goes on, and it was only 2 seasons, and you can tell at the end of the 2nd season that it was a rushed ending. Like they did complete it, but this would have been so good if it had reached 3, 4, 5 seasons. Like, there's so much they could have done with this.
I love how the actors from this show up in so many other places. Like, a lot of the folks in this image here have gone on to be characters in other things and in other sci-fi shows. And every time a Dollhouse actor shows up, I'm like, oh yeah, I know. That's one of the dolls. Maybe they are a doll. Still.
Yeah, I realized that I don't remember any of their names. Not Whiskey. Whiskey was a different person. But the Asianish lady, she's in Severance. Like, I looked her up. I was like, is that the same lady? Because she looks like...
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the main character was in Bring It On. So I was like, oh, that was surprising. But yeah, it's fun to see them pop up places. But I just really like Joss Whedon's stuff. And this This could have gone so far.
This was a good era.
It could have
of
explored
shows that
so
time,
much more. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the one that had the weird, like, either season finale or like bonus episodes
The
where they were
epilogue
way in the
episodes,
yeah.
future and Felicia Day was in them for some reason. And it was,
Yes.
yeah, it had like a weird departure that jumped way off of the timeline and showed you some other aspect of the world. It was a very odd structure to the show. And they did it in both seasons, even though I think
did.
they knew they were done.
Yeah.
It was one. They were pretty much like, and we're basically going to set off a nuke. Okay, good. We're done now.
Bro,
It wasn't
has
that dark,
ended.
but like it was
Yeah.
an odd ending. It was almost like the ending of the live action Dinosaurs, the Dinosaurs sitcom.
Yes. Yeah.
Where they're like, the ending is the asteroid.
Explosion.
All right, there have been a ton of suggestions for number one floating out there. Firefly came up several times. I would, the one I'm going to pick though is the one I would love to see. Richard Saunders said, and you're never going to find it, Chris. Police Squad.
I know this is the one that I said. I should have picked this one on my list.
Police Squad only ran for 6 episodes. It was so dense and a proto version of what we saw later on Airplane and Naked Gun films. But it was sort of like, I would say it's the difference between Monty Python's Flying Circus and the movies. And the movies probably have a bigger reach, but the real pure version of the comedy was in the series. And it hurts that it's only 6 episodes because they did such interesting things, and I would love to. They are working on a Naked Gun reboot, I believe, but I don't think it's going to be Police Squad style serialized TV.
No, I don't think. I think it'll be more of a movie. But I'm cautiously interested in hearing Liam Neeson say very serious but stupid lines.
They were really having Liam Neeson play.
Liam Neeson is going to
Oh my
play.
gosh, what's his face?
The Frank Drebin character?
Leslie, whatever.
Yeah,
Leslie
Leslie Nielsen's
Yeah,
character.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, no, this is the right number one choice. As much as Firefly, it makes the list and everything,
Yeah.
but Police Squad.
Man.
I saw
Brilliant.
Greatest American Hero go by as well, and I think they actually are working on a Greatest American Hero reboot.
Are they really?
Oh yeah, see if he ever gets that manual. You got to get the manual for the super suit.
All right. We're going to jump to some contributors here, and then we'll reach the last segment of our show, our old school game.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
All right, today we're talking about A Message from the Stars. This is from All Play, and this is a deductive logic style game where you have one person playing as the alien and everyone else is playing as scientists. There is a competitive mode as well, but we like playing the cooperative version. All right, so basically you are sending messages back and forth trying to figure out what each other's language is, and it's kind of this Close Encounters of the Third Kind style of communication as they're trying to figure each other's languages out. The alien has all the information. They have what letters mean, and they're trying to send them over to you as the scientist. The scientists then are going to submit words back to the alien. The alien's going to write down what that kind of conveys in terms of a score back to them. You go back and forth 4 times, ultimately trying to figure out what the messages that you're sending back and forth to each other mean.
So I really like that when you're the alien, you have this sheet where all the cards are in, but I didn't know what to do with a certain word that I wanted to do and how it was going to be scored, and I was going to look at the rule book, but they actually have everything listed there for you. So you
Behind that divider?
Yes, behind the divider. So like you don't actually have to interrupt the gameplay. You can just be like, wait a second, let me just refer to this little sheet here real quick. Okay, this is what this word is scored. So I just really like that you didn't have to leave the gameplay or even give clues unintentionally by asking a question about the scoring of it, because it's all just listed right there.
This is a very thinky game. You're spending a lot of time just kind of like doing the logic of the math and the numbers, just like, what does that mean? What cards is the alien hiding back there that I can't figure out? Okay, I'm going to jot some notes down off to the side, wait for more information. Just spend a lot of time just kind of poring over the numbers, just thinking a lot. It's a very kind of pensive game, but I like that. It's a very challenging puzzle-style deduction game.
Yeah, I didn't like that. It just wasn't for me. I do think that this is a good game. It's just not a game that was meant for my style of gaming.
I liked it a lot.
It's meant for your style of gaming. Everybody, thank you so much for watching us. If you want to hear more from us, you can find us on YouTube. We are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. Everybody, this is Ryan and Bethany. Hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye everybody.
Guys.
Hi folks, this is Rich Saunders from Co-op Gestalt, a place to talk about cooperative games, cooperative game mechanisms, and sometimes solo mechanics. Today I want to talk to you about something that doesn't come up surprisingly when you talk about cooperative games. That's trust and respect. Recently I was playing a game of Everdale Duo with my friend Teresa, and the game actually does have communications restrictions in the game. You're not supposed to share what's in your hand and stuff like that. Now, Teresa and I, we played next to each other with completely open hand, and because we trust and respect each other, I've known Teresa for many years, and she doesn't think I'm going to mess with her stuff, and I'm not going to mess with her stuff. We didn't have a problem having completely open hand and sharing, if we needed to, some of our stuff. I think that a lot of designers use communications restrictions as a crutch to fend off the alpha player problem. Of course, the alpha player problem is when someone comes to the group and they tell everyone what to do and basically ruin a cooperative experience. So my friends and I, we actually tend to ignore communication restrictions. Don't get me wrong, we don't do this in games like Message from the Stars or Hanabi, where communications restrictions are fundamental and endemic to the game. We just tend to ignore them in games like Defenders of the Wild and Everdale Duo because they tend to make the game less cooperative and less fun, because when I get together with my friends, I want to cooperate and play a game with them and have a good time. So I've been very lucky over the years. I have a group where we trust and respect each other. So we tend to ignore these communications limitations in a lot of games. What about your group? Do you have trust and respect for your group? Do you ignore the communications restrictions because we know it's a crutch to get rid of the alpha player? Let me know what you think in the comments. Anyway, that's it for me. Find us on the web at coopgestalt.com and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
What we do here is go back.
All right, our old school game today is one that Wendy just played for the first time.
I did.
Eric
I did.
suggested this as it's one that you actually own. And like a hipster, you don't even own the English edition.
No, I got the original German. Look at that. This was
Wow.
part of the Cosmos 2-player line. It's Dirk Henn's Rosenkönig, or the Rose King.
The version that we have is in a weird box where the box unfolds and becomes the board, and then you magnetify a piece that was inside the box to the other side to become the rest of the board.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, we have the plate. We have this one here, which is the L box edition, where the box itself unfolds into the game board.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting is a good word for it.
So the look of the game is pretty similar. I don't think the actual graphic design has changed a ton. We're sort of looking at some of the different versions here. This game is played in a grid, and it's a 2-player game or a partnership game. You can actually play this with 4 players. And you are trying to place your pieces out on the board in adjacency with other pieces of yours, while also flipping your opponent's pieces so that you create the largest contiguous groups possible. And it's when I say that, the scoring is pretty intense here. This is not a pyramidal scoring; it's a square scoring. So if you have a group of 4 of your color at the end of the game, it's 4 times 4, so 16 points. But if you have 5, now it's 25, and if you have 6, it's 36. And so if you get a group of 7, 8, 9 of your color, you're winning. So protecting against those giant groups becomes the game, and trying to flip specific points so that if I cut this into 2 little pieces, it's not worth nearly as many points as it is if it was one giant piece of your color. This is all done by moving that little crown piece using cards. You have cards in front of you, and they are in front of you. They're face up, so you can see what your opponent can do. And so you've got an arrow, and you've got a number of spaces, and you pick one of those, and you move the crown. And if you land on an open space, you put out your piece. You have to use one of the, you get 4 opportunities to flip an opponent's piece. And you need to use those judiciously, because you want to make that hurt as much as possible. Because if you can't actually flip the piece, you can't go there using that card. So you're looking at what your opponent can do as well as what you can do, and making sure your opponent has very few options to mess with your plans. That's the general gist. What did you two think, especially Wendy?
You know what? I enjoyed this a little bit more than other abstract games, and I think it's because I could very clearly see what other people could do. Like, I knew
Yeah.
exactly the 5 potential spaces they could go to. It's not like there was something that I was missing. And so I appreciated that. I did have a couple weird games. So I played Chris, and it felt like a very normal, expected game. You know, we had a couple big chunks and whatever. We covered the map. But then I played one with my daughter, and it was over in like 8 turns because we got pushed to the top, and all of our swords were just facing up. And so we just were stuck, and the game was suddenly over, and I was like, we put out almost no pieces. And then we played again right after, and it basically did the same thing. And what's especially weird is that it's not like there were only a certain number of upward-facing cards, because when you draw a card for your side, you face it relatively up for you, but if the other player draws, they face it relatively up for them. So it's like somehow I kept drawing the pointing upwards cards, and my daughter kept drawing the pointing downwards cards.
But because the orientation, it was all going to the same side of the
And
board.
it happened 2 games in a row. The second game we played a lot longer, but it still ended before the pieces were out because we just got stuck up high and we couldn't ever go down. So anyways, it was very strange.
I've played dozens of games of this, and that was odd to see that. I've never seen that happen, and especially not twice in a row.
Yeah.
That was very weird. But also, the first game that you and I played was not, I would describe, a normal game, because, as Eric said, this is an exponential scoring game. You square your regions. And I learned what 17 squared was because Wendy just...
Is that not normal?
No.
That's
not normal.
I was like, okay, cool. I just got to go there and break up her group. And she kept flipping over my pieces and made this mega group that could not be split.
Yeah, I just had like 4 connections everywhere. So like if he cut one, I still had 3 other connections.
Yeah.
We do sort of see pieces of this in Onitama, another abstract where you can see what your opponent can do, and that's part of your strategy. It is a little dry. I think that's the big criticism here. It's very abstract, and it can get very thinky as you're like, all right, can they move here? No. Can they move here? No. What does that card do? No. Can I move there? Oh, if I do that, I'm in trouble. So you have to basically process all 5 of your cards against all 5 of their cards each move. And that can slow things down a little bit.
It's a little thinky and a little random because, you don't always have 5 cards. You might be down to 2 cards. And you say, okay, is this a turn where I draw a card to see if I get a better position? And you draw something and you go, well, that's the last card I could ever possibly want in this situation. But there's something so charming about it to me that I really like this one. So, yeah, it's a 7.5 for me. It's not like one of the best 2-player abstracts.
Yeah.
Because of those downsides that you mentioned.
Yeah.
But I am really just charmed by it, and it's one I'm very happy to come back to, and I'm glad my daughter likes it.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah,
that's cool. It's a little lower on my list, probably around the 6s. It just doesn't see much playtime, but it is obviously still on the shelf because it's a classic.
Yeah.
With all the other kid games that you have there.
Your hula hoop collection, your ever-growing hula hoop collection.
Please, people, don't just send me hula hoops. I don't need more. We don't need to make this a trend. That's fine.
Well, you could be one of those hula hoop dancers. Hula hoop with like 50 of them. This could be your new hobby.
Live show on the cruise.
Oh my goodness. I can do it.
I don't want to
have
to pack that.
It comes apart. It's easy to pack.
It does. I don't want to take it apart and put it back together. Anyway.
All right.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a fabulous board game breakfast. Remember, we have a Catch-A-Palooza later this afternoon, so check that out and all the other stuff this week. But in the meantime, I'm Wendy Yi.
I'm Chris Yi.
And I'm Eric Summerer.
Go watch TV shows that ended too soon and be sad.
Goodbye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you liked this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.